Hello team, I have a lot of catching up to do. Let's just have a look at how many questions have I answered on this video. And when you scroll down, I haven't answered anything. And that's not because I hate you guys, but because in the past couple months, actually, my life, both at work and at home, has been just an absolute bizarre overload. And it's just a crazy miracle that I could make a couple videos here and there, but if I'm not answering comments or emails, that's not because I hate you guys, that's because I don't even have time to read personal emails at all, so let alone answer them. Actually, I do read them, but I don't have time to answer them. So let's do something about it because there's a lot of things happening. So first of all, this is a shout out to Edward. He is doing amazing stuff, and lately he's been putting in so much work and turning out so many videos. You see, I already watched some of them, but haven't really had time to watch a lot more. And uh, and I really recommend watching his videos because he is doing really pioneering research on doing his own elaborate version of the voice of Lancelot speaker, and he is also uh, building his dream amplifier, and he has been trying out a lot of things that I myself wanted to try out and still want to try, but I just don't have the time for it. So I know for this year, in the beginning of the year, I was really hopeful that I will be able to do building projects and live streams and everything. But the reality is that life turned out very different from my expectations, and I barely have time to for lunch or breakfast, let alone do anything like building an amplifier. That's just so far out. It's like, okay, I just need to catch up with a ton of things before I can do that. So that's why I'm recommending to check out what Edward's doing, because he's been doing a lot of things that you will be very much interested in. And coming back to these unanswered questions, first of all, I mentioned Edward because he wrote me a lot of emails, because we email a lot with him, but lately I just couldn't email him back, and I just wanted to do a shout out for all of you, because you would be really very much interested in what Edward is doing. So now let's get into the questions as well. Mr. Baji was asking, do you recommend subs if the main speakers are only capable to play down till 35 hertz? That's a very hard question, and it depends on the speaker and it depends on your system, because if you have a traditional system that you have like a really like a commercial traditional audiophile setup, I would say in 8 out of 10 cases you will be happier if you add the sub and you integrate the sub and in most cases with commercial systems the subs tend to integrate quite well. However, I know that you are really into audio note and not that traditional commercial stuff. That route, I think it does not mesh well with subs, and certainly what I'm doing, like these speakers, the Legrand, they do not mesh well with subs. But actually there are some people who build Lagrands and play around with them, try them with subs, and they are really happy with it. But with where I'm going is just using the Darling amplifier to drive it. I have now a coherence for the mid-range and the bass, and I try to add subs in the past with full range driver speakers, so single driver speakers driven by the Darling amp, and it never ever worked out. It just doesn't. And that's because even though I'm getting more bass, but the harmonic content is disrupted. So it depends how you are listening and what are you listening for. Because if you just listen to bass energy and amount of bass, then sooner or later you will be able to integrate a sub and you will be happy with that. And I'm pointing at these guys because they go down till about 30 hertz or so, about that range that you are asking about. And however, if your priority is looking at the harmonic content, how the harmonic structure builds up, then I would say it's next to impossible to integrate a sub to a system that is capable of a musical reproduction that has a proper harmonic spectrum to it. And that's something that's really systems dependent. Audionaut tends to go towards getting a proper harmonic spectrum, especially with their higher end systems. But for example, those folks who are into Wilson audio sound, Wilson has a broken harmonic spectrum, so that's why if you add the sub to it, which is a capable sub, then you will be happier with it, because it won't disrupt the harmonic spectrum, because there is no harmonic spectrum to disrupt. And this, I'm not saying as a criticism for Wilson speakers. Yes, I am, but they do a lot of other things, and people buy them for those other things. And if you have systems like that fall in that category, and a lot of the commercial systems fall into that category because they want to go to where the Wilson is. But yeah, so in that kind of language, I mean, a language as far as what the loudspeakers speak, how they interpret music in an intellectual way, the subs integrate really well. But that aspect, that road is like traditionally a multi-driver approach with high order crossovers, and preferably with high damping factor amplifiers and high power amplifiers. And with that approach, yes, sub under 35 hertz is really well recommended. But if you are going for a single driver or few drivers, efficient loudspeakers, direct path tube amplification with little to no feedback, then I've never found a sub that can mesh well. Well, I have more stories about that, and something very bizarre, but I think now I'm going, what's the time for this video? 8 minutes. Anyway, I don't want to go into that because that's like takes like a different topic, different subject. So I would say, if like in a scenario like that, like Legrand, if I add the sub to them, the next 5 minutes when I'm playing around with the sub, I will say, yeah, this is fun. But after an hour, I said, like, I just throw the sub out of the window, because even though there's a lot more bass energy, but the spectrum coherence is so broken that I just cannot stand to listen to it. And yeah, I haven't just done that, just like try it once and that's it, but you spend like many hours in many different systems, and never ever have something that you like, not just in your system but in other people's systems. Then that's a good indication that for your preferences that kind of stuff doesn't work. And how that goes for me is that when that happens, when the harmonic structure is disrupted, for me one of the consequences of that is that the emotional connection to the music is gone. So when I listen to music, it just becomes something that's the brain interprets, but I am not part of the music anymore, and it's just something boring. And It's kind of like I don't even want to turn on the stereo like that. I said, yeah, there's a lot of bass and whatnot. It extends lower, but it does not make me alive. You know, it doesn't create. The purpose of music for me, what I'm looking, is creation. Like for example, now I'm after a week at work, like really hard work, and I'm just energy level is below the and why I need these speakers, why I need this music is to energize me and bring me back from the land of the dead, from a zombie. And that's what I've been doing. Let's see, Moderat. Yes. So I've been listening to Moderat and cranking them, probably the loudest they ever played. And this is where I stopped it. There was this bass line here, which is just phenomenal. This, I don't know what you guys heard because this thing was recording the audio as well and my lapel mic, so probably it ends up as something really messy in the output, but it's just so before listening to this I was just dead like a zombie, and now I'm just energized. But if I had a sub here, then yeah, technically that would have made more accurate, more precise, but it would have, instead of energizing me, it would have made me even more tired, because it's just bearing down when you have that kind of system. And um, and of course, if you probably I will have a million comments, it's because you don't know how to integrate a sub. No, I know how to integrate a sub, but if you integrate it well, you don't even hear a sub is playing, but you can hear that the harmonic spectrum is getting disrupted, so it's the energy does not motivate you anymore. You don't, it doesn't enter into your feelings, and that's why you get drained, because you just have the SPL, but you don't have that motivational force to activate your mind, activate your spirit. So I think for me, I'm looking for the number one thing I'm looking in all audio gear is the effect that the music has on me. That can the system turn a dead digital code, which is the digital music that I'm streaming from YouTube now, can it turn those ones and zeros into life that makes my life better? It adds to my life. It just blooms. It brings life into my life. And yeah, so going back to that 35 hertz, so I think it's a really bad way to look at bass, that what is the, how long, I mean how deep the speakers reach, because in some sense it makes sense, because yeah, it's numbers, and the measuring mic measures it, computer makes an output of the analysis, etc., etc. But when you look into musicians, what they do, the most helpful thing that I ever heard about bass extension comes from my favorite organist. His name is Lehotka Gábor. He was a Hungarian organist, world famous Hungarian organist. He just passed away a few years ago, and he wrote several books, and he was not just on organs and organ playing, organ theory, and he not just played them, but he built organs too. So he also supervised the building of organs. So if you go to Hungary, to Budapest at the conservatory, he built, or he was the consultant, or the organist consultant who built and redesigned the organ there. And among others. There are other organs as well where he participated in rebuilding. So long story short, so there is someone who is just a fantastic musician. And by the way, I think if you like organ and if you like Bach and the D moll toccata and fugue, he is the one that played it in the most authentic way, I think, that I ever heard it being played. And he's just really close to me. So since I was a kid, since I was like 6 years old, I've been listening to his recordings on cassette tape, and I just put it on, like the Handel choral preludes. His Handel choral preludes, just amazing. That's one of my favorite music. I listen to that tape to shreds. It's almost shredded. So anyway, so what he wrote about bass is that to have the perception of bass, you don't just need a fundamental frequency, because when we look at the frequency extension, like the speakers go to 35 hertz or 20 hertz, something like that, that will just help you when you think about the fundamental frequency. So can it represent the fundamental? But Lehotka was saying that the fundamental in itself is not that important. Much more important for the perception of the bass is the harmonic structure that builds on the fundamental. And if the harmonic structure, the upper harmonics of the fundamental are correctly aligned, they are present and coherent, then it will make a beautiful sound. Like then that's when you can appreciate the sound of the instrument. And when you have problem with the harmonic structure, then it will sound like a broken instrument. And this is true to a point that even if the fundamental frequency is missing, it's not even there, but the upper harmonic structure is perfectly aligned, you will still have almost a perfect experience. Versus if you have the fundamental frequency there at the right SPL, but the upper harmonic structure is misaligned, then it will be a broken sound, and the bass will not sound as deep, as rich, as full. And when we add the subwoofer, then we will help the system to add that fundamental frequency. But because it needs to integrate, it will ruin the upper harmonics. So the upper harmonic structure will be broken because the sub needs to mesh in with your main speakers. So that's why, that's what I was saying when I was talking about the harmonic structure in the bass, that's why I cannot mesh anything with these speakers that I built for myself, because yeah, you are adding the fundamental, but you are fudging up the harmonic structure and the harmonic, and you say, oh, I can mix it, that the roll off it's good. But no, you can kind of mix it, that when you are in a specific 3D position in space, then the roll offs negate each other and you have a reasonably stable thing, output. But you can have just a minute deviation, that's just a blip on a frequency graph, and your ears will already pick it up as something is out of place there. And when you try to mix match the roll-off of the drivers of the sub and your main speaker, you can do it in one spot in 3D. If you move up or down, left, right, front, back, it's already going to be a different slope. So that's why if you want to integrate a sub, the only way you can kind of get away with it is if you just have a spot and you are glued to a spot and you can't move away. and that's a problem. That's something that I absolutely refuse to have systems like that, where you have to be glued to a spot and you can't even move your head away, you know, just I'm here, I'm stuck. No, I want, you know, just freedom to move around, and then if I want to relax, I can relax, and I don't have to like you know, a sword solo, or just sit like that, like for the whole time you are listening to music, and because for you just can't do that for extended periods of times. So I think that that's my take on subs, and just my long take of answering Mr. Baji's question. I hope it was helpful and useful, and I think it will explain for a lot of you that why integrating a sub didn't work in your case and why it worked in your case. So just please, team, just write down your comments. What are your experiences with sub integration? And let's learn more. I don't know all the answers. I just can share what I have experienced, and I really hope it will be helpful for everyone. So have an awesome day. Bye bye. Where is the stop button?